Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
I wanted to start with this, man. This weekend in Saudi Arabia, they had a fighter that was supposed to fight on a card, right? And then they pulled him off the card because they found some banned substances in his urine, right? But this is his debut for the UFC, so they pulled him from the card. He posts on Instagram saying that he took juice 3 months ago, and when he signed with the UFC, he thought that he would be clean. What do you think of this situation, man? Because you're like an old school guy, and like I like to talk to the old school guys about this because this is kind of funny, man. Like, should he even be in the UFC? You think?
Yeah, man, and I'm actually completely unaware of that. I haven't heard nothing about it, but I mean, it's not surprising, because that's the way it's going right now for a lot of the guys that are outside the organization. A lot of these guys that are being able to fight without getting tested are on something, right? Like the Diaz and all them say, everybody's on steroids because a lot of the guys outside the UFC probably are. But yeah, man, it sucks for him that now his opportunity is getting ruined because, he thinks that he needs steroids to help him win fights or just to fight for that matter. And man, once you make it to the UFC, that's the highest level of this combat sports. And we're trying to keep it clean, That's why we have all the testing that we do. So yeah, sucks for that guy.
Yeah, definitely, man. You see this a lot now, I think. Like, it's not as publicized, but this is not the first instant where a fighter was signed to the UFC and then ahead of their first fight, they were suspended by whoever's handling the doping. Like, before it was USADA, now it's what is it? Sports doping or
Drug
something.
free sports.
That's right, drug-free
Yeah,
sports.
drug
Yeah.
free sports, I believe.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing a little bit better job. They're a little bit more strict, right? Do you feel that?
Uh, Yeah, I mean, it still feels like the same for me. I've been tested 2 or 3 times already since we have switched to the drug-free sport. Um, but for the most part, man, it's pretty simple. It's the same thing. Some guy knocks on your door and say, "Hey, I'm here from drug-free sport, man. Here to collect your sample. All right, come on in." And it seems like it's a little bit quicker now. As long as you didn't just pee, you know. Then you gotta wait and drink water until you can. But yeah, man, it seems simple. I mean, it don't seem much different than the actual USADA, um, but yeah, man, it's good for the sport, and hopefully, it's keeping it clean for everybody that's fighting in the UFC.
Yeah, it's the reason why it's interesting is because how many people are juicing outside of the UFC, like coming up in the game. It's like you would think that they would want to juice when they get to the UFC, right?
Yeah, for sure, and that's the thing, man. A lot of these guys may be on these big, huge winning streaks outside the UFC. They're doing well. They're winning championships. They're killing guys on the outside. But then once you get into the UFC, you got to get off that stuff because it's of course illegal for in the UFC, and we get all the testing done. But it's like, can you fight without it?
Yeah,
And not only can you fight without it, can you fight the best guys in the world? Because that's what's in.
for sure, man. Hey, you're gonna fight one of the best guys in the world, man. You got this young buck coming up, man. This young buck, this guy that's kind of new to
Yep.
the division or to the UFC. He's had one fight. What do you think of Kaynan, man? His style.
I love his style, right? And that's why I'm excited for this fight, even though that he's not like a name that everybody knows. I don't care about that right now. Of course, I would like to fight some big name guys, but just for me, right now, it's about getting back on a winning streak. And I think he's the perfect guy to do it. He's got the perfect style for me. He's gonna come. He's gonna fight. He's not an outstanding wrestler that's just gonna hold me down and hug me and try to lay and pray a decision. I think he's going to come in there. He's going to fight. He's going to try to knock me out. If things aren't going well for him, he'll try to put me down, but he's going to work. He's going to look to finish me. He's going to look for submissions. He's going to look for knockouts. And that's what I like to fight.
Yeah, he for his debut, man, you're right. He's a risk taker. For his debut, he jumped in on short notice, took a catchweight fight against Els Brenner, who is he's a knockout artist, Els Brenner, and went in there into the fire and tried to knock him out, man. It was a pretty crazy fight. What did you think of that?
Yeah, man, it was an exciting fight. And of course, a tough fight for your debut. Elvis Brenner's no joke. The guy's been here for a little while. He's had quite a few UFC fights, and he's pretty good. So, but yeah, man, I don't think he looked ultimately bad in his debut. Of course, he did lose by knockout, but Um, I still think he put on a good showing, and he showed that he will go in there and he will throw some hands. He's going to come in there and and fight. So that's what I took away from him in that first fight, and I think he's pretty solid.
Yeah, he's gonna match aggression with aggression, right? Rather than be too defensive. Is there such thing as too defensive?
Yeah, I think there is such thing as too defensive. That's just you not wanting to fight, not wanting you to maybe engage, not wanting to jump into the fire. So, yeah, man, if you're on your back foot the whole time, just being defensive, I feel like you're going to get picked apart and ultimately knocked out.
Your last fight, man, against Trey Ogden, you knew what you were in for. You went in there,
Yep.
I saw after the fight, visibly disappointed. What did you think of how all that transpired, the fight?
Yeah, man, it kind of went down like I thought. If I lost the fight, that's how I pictured losing the fight. I didn't think I'd be knocked out. I didn't think I'd be submitted. I figured if he won this fight, it would be because he took me down and he controlled me. Sucks for my part. I didn't do the job that I set out to do, and yeah, man, it cost me the fight. So I'm trying to learn from that, and just I'm still trying to get better every day.
How were you like physically after that fight? Were you that beat up?
No, I wasn't super beat up. I mean, of course, I did take some punches. There was one part of the fight where he kind of handcuffed me a little bit, and he was laying some pretty good ground and pound. But I think that was really the best moment for him of the fight. On the feet, I don't feel like I got hit with anything that even remotely hurt me. But yeah, I wasn't hurt or anything after the fight, and that's why I immediately reached out to my manager, and I was like, "Hey, man, look, I got to get that one back. Get me in as soon as possible." I wanted to fight this weekend for 303 in International Fight Week. That's what I was targeting. So I told him, "Hey, put me on that card." And I wanted to be on the card with Connor and Chandler. But then they sent me this, 3 weeks after, and I'm like, perfect.
Yeah, man. It's that's what the UFC wants to hear, though, right? If you're coming off a loss, even coming off a win, they would just want you to be eager to like fight again, right? Rather than sit out for like 6, 9 months, a year.
Well, yeah, right after I won the Ultimate Fighter in the finale against Austin. I was wanting to jump back in. I wanted to take a little bit of time off because I had just did the house. I had just did all this stuff to where I was away from my family for a while. So I wanted to take a few months off. But I even said, man, like I would like to jump in before the end of the year. I wanted that December 16th card, and I was wanting to fight like Tony Ferguson or somebody because I knew he was going to fight, or Tony or Patty because I called out Patty. Um, but I didn't get those fights, and I didn't get the chance to fight on that card. But I was out for like 7 months, and I didn't like that. I feel like I got some momentum going. I just fought 2 times in 10 days on the Ultimate Fighter, and um, then I had to take 2 or 3, or yeah, it was like 3 months off before I fought Austin, and then 7 months. I didn't want to do that, and then yeah, so now I was able to get back. Pretty good turnaround after the fight with Trey Ogden, and yeah, hopefully this one works out for me.
Yeah, you're pretty much back right into camp. You know what I mean? And like, how is this camp different from the last one?
I don't think last camp. I feel like so. This was the thing. I feel like I had 7 or 8 months off. I feel like I put on, and I consistently train. I own 2 gyms, so I train every day. But I don't train like I'm in fight camp. I don't eat like I'm in fight camp. I eat, drink beer. I'll have fun while I'm not fighting, and I'll still show up every night to train with all of my students because I got a lot of guys of amateur professionals that I got to train and help get ready for their fights. But I felt like when I got that phone call for Trey Ogden was like 12 weeks out, and I immediately started right there dieting, training hard for the fight. Started doing a lot of traveling, going back and forth to Kill Cliff. I trained with my coach Jimmy Mills in Mobile, Alabama. My head coach, Professor Raphael Elwanger, is about 45 minutes from me, so I'm constantly making all these rounds, and I'm going balls to the wall with 12 weeks out, and I just felt like I started to hit a wall every couple weeks, and I'm like, man, um, I'm starting to feel it a little bit. Maybe I should have paced it myself and went a little bit slower. So I think that's what I kind of did this fight. I got the call about the same, 11, 12 weeks out, but I didn't start killing myself right then. I got in training camp, official training camp about 2 weeks ago, and I feel like it's going great.
Yeah, you're in a do you feel like you're in a better rhythm, you know what I mean? Like you mentioned the time off, you know what I mean, and then you got to get back into it. But like now you had a camp, you had a fight, not much time off, back in the camp. That's a pretty good rhythm.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I didn't take a whole bunch of time off after this, and honestly, I didn't take no time off really because I was literally back in the gym that Tuesday or Wednesday after the fight, still training because I still had guys I had to get ready too, and and I felt like my weight stayed down this time, and I'm not having to cut a tremendous amount of weight. Um, so I'm just kind of taking it slow. And like I said, I haven't done much traveling. I'm going to my coach in Hammond, Louisiana, which is about 45 minutes away from me. I'm doing a little bit in Port City with my other coach, Jimmy Mills. I don't know if I'm gonna make a kill cliff trip for this fight, being that I got about now 4 weeks left. But like I said, man, I feel good. I'm getting good work here, and I'll be in shape and ready for sure.
For sure, man. You know, you do have like a pretty good growing team with you at home. You know what I mean? Like a solid crew that could get you ready.
Yeah, for sure. And that's another thing that I'm consistently building. I'm consistently trying to build my MMA team up this locally here. I got some pros, I got some amateurs. I just had a guy fight on the unified main event this past or last weekend, in Ontario. So, I got some good guys coming up, man. I just got to stay working and I got to stay on these guys and I got to keep showing these guys the path to make it to these big shows like the UFC.
For sure. And you know, like what is one of the main like pieces of advice you usually give to all the fighters, you know what I mean, when they're like really early in their career? Cuz you've been through it all, man. It's not like you haven't seen anything.
Yeah, no, they just have to believe in themselves, man. They have to believe in their skill set. They have to believe in their skills. They have to believe that they can make it to that next level. And I let them know, but the only way they're going to do that is by working hard, right? Nothing's ever going to get given to you in this game. You're going to have to win the fights. You're going to have to take opportunities, even when you don't want to sometimes, and you got to look for that door to open.
Do you think like that's one of the things that a lot of fighters struggle with is confidence and belief in themselves, even though other people tell them that they're good, they still don't believe as much as others?
Dude, that's 100%. I want to feel like, or I do feel like that is a lot of fighters out there, including myself. For my earlier days in the UFC, I had no confidence in myself. I knew I was good because I could beat all these guys up on the local circuit, right? But these guys wasn't stars that have already been fighting in the UFC. And I get a call when I'm 27 years old to step into Strikeforce and fight the number one contender that's about to fight Gilbert Melendez for the title. I'll fight Pat Healy, and I went out there, I don't think I was confident in myself. I went out there knowing I'm going to fight. But then once I lost that fight to Pat Healy, I'm like, man, well, can I beat these guys? Am I good enough to beat these guys? And I feel like that's something that stuck with me for a while. And I think that's really led to while I haven't been very successful in the UFC. It's just because my lack of confidence in myself. But then I go out of the UFC and I beat all these guys. And it doesn't matter if they was in the UFC before or not. I still beat them. Desmond Greens, Dennis Sedania, Jay-Z Cavalcanti. I mean, I've beat some pretty good guys, Eric Marriott, outside the UFC that are on the Ultimate Fighter, in Bellator, in the UFC. I don't know. And I feel like that's giving me the confidence to come back on like the Ultimate Fighter and get to where I am now. But the lack of self confidence, man, that definitely exists.
You know what I noticed in some of the fighters that have like long careers is like they reach a point where they are very confident in themselves, and then their belief is very high, and then it goes back down, and then that's where I think the struggling with the retirement thing comes in, right? Because it's like if I'm not the best or one of the best in the world, why do I even do it? Is that something? Is that right? Is that something that happens?
Yeah, definitely. Um, and I think for me, it's like I'm starting to get a little bit older now, and if I wouldn't have made it back to the UFC for this chance, I may be retired right now. But it's still a part of me is like, man, I don't want to be like where Mike Tyson is, or some of these guys that retired but still you're gonna because you're gonna miss it. Once I retire, I'm gonna miss the hell out of it. And I'm gonna want to fight, knowing that I probably can't or shouldn't. So I want to do this as long as I can, as long as my body will let me. That way, when it's said and done, there's no what ifs. I'm like, I know I did everything I wanted to do.
Yeah, sometimes I'll see some of the coaches that are like, older guys, like in their 40s and not really in their 50s, but in their like 40s. They haven't like trained for a while, but man, they go spar like the pros, and they're like, oh, like they're the coach, man, and they'll go out there and start lighting these dudes up, and I'm like, you guys
Yeah.
forgot, like I could still fight.
Yeah, for sure. Look at Coach Jason Stroud, man, one of my Ultimate Fighter coaches. That dude's on the mats every day, and don't get it wrong. He will jump in there and he will spar you in a heartbeat, and he's gonna crack you because that dude can still crack, man. But yeah, I mean, who knows? And now I don't know his situation. I don't know what made him stop fighting. He was ultimately a kickboxer. I want to say not really a MMA fighter, but I mean, man, he could still scrap. He could probably still jump in the cage right now and beat some of the best guys in the world.
Yeah, I'm not a fighter, but like, I train a little bit, and I ran into Yuri Prohaska's head coach, who was like a Muay Thai fighter in the '90s in Thailand. They don't
Yeah,
really know his background, right? And then he was sparring, and I was just like, let me just spar him. Let me see how he just beat my ass, dude. Like it was like so easy for him, dude. It's a eye opening experience, man.
for sure. I got one of my coaches that cornered me in all my fights, Jimmy Mills from Port City MMA in Mobile, Alabama. A lot of people don't realize his background. He was a good MMA fighter. He had a good MMA record, and back in the day, he was training with Alan Belcher and Rich Clemente and a lot of those guys that were in the UFC or big names from Louisiana. And I always heard before I even met Jimmy Mills, man, he was the guy that would be the champion if he chose that path and wanted to keep fighting. He retired probably earlier than he wanted to, but he was a guy that was living in like Ireland and overseas, training with AllStar Overeem and all of those glory kickboxing guys. So I mean, he tells stories. Yeah, man, I used to get my ass kicked by AllStar on a daily basis. But a lot of guys don't know that. He's one of the coaches. They don't know his background, but he's a guy that was really good and had that skill.
Yeah. And you want to do that as well, when you step into the cage, right? Teach someone a lesson. So I've seen that you predicting a knockout. Like why do you see that? Is it just the aggression that this guy brings, that he'll make mistakes?
I think so because, like I said before, that's the style that I thrive to fight. That I can find those openings when you are trying to knock me out. I can find the opening. If you're being safe, if you're being, if you just want to grapple the entire time, then I'm gonna have to look for some other things. I'm probably not gonna get the knockout, but I feel like the style that Kaynan brings is gonna leave some opening. It might leave openings for me too. I gotta be ready at any point in time in that fight. But I think it's going to open him up a little bit, and uh, I believe in my power. I think I can catch this guy and I can knock him out. I have a lot of knockouts on my record. I have a lot of submissions on my record. I don't have a lot of decision wins. I think I got like 22 professional fights and only 3 decision wins. The rest are knockouts or submissions. So I'm coming for the finish, man.
We know that, man. One last thing, you mentioned Chandler earlier. You were trying to get on the 303 card, man. That ultimately is not happening. And what do you think of all the fiasco around that, man? Like, what do you think, man? It's just wild, right?
Eh, I'm not surprised. Look how long it's taken. Look how long it's taken. Taken for what? I got a friend here. Come on over here, you big head. The number 6 middleweight, UFC middleweight in the world.
Okay.
Brendan Allen.
All right. Oh, he's helping you out.
Yeah, well, he's here. We're gonna do some sparring today.
Okay.
So yeah, he just popped in the gym, but yeah, man. What was I saying
about Chandler? Like you didn't.
Chandler, yeah, Connor Chandler. It don't surprise me, man. It doesn't surprise me at all. We've been waiting a long time for this already. We're going on about 2 years. And that was still, the question before: is Connor really gonna come back? Right now it's looking like no, and it sucks, but I don't know what Mike's gonna do. I'm gonna try to hit Mike up this week. I'm gonna be in Vegas. I know he's gonna be in Vegas. I'm gonna get out to the PI a little bit. Hopefully we can. I want to get a training session in with him, so we'll see. Might talk to him a little bit, but think that he might try to move past Conor because, of course, that's a big money fight for Mike, you know. But I think Mike's doing fine. I don't. This Mike doesn't need that fight, so I think he's gonna do
What are you doing?
do a fight. I'm doing an interview, man.
What's going on? What's going on, man? How you doing?
Shit, what's that?
Nothing. Just doing the interview.
Oh, that's what's up.
But yeah, man. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, but you got Crown Royal.
Yeah. You want some?
So you're going out to Vegas a little bit early then.
Well, yeah, I'm going out. We're gonna leave Tuesday. I got my wife and kids. They're gonna compete at the IBJJF Nationals. They do that every year out in Vegas. So my wife and kids are gonna compete. I'll just be there. I want to get some time in at the PI while I'm there. Of course, it's International Fight Week, so that's always a cool thing. I was at the last one last year. Of course, I don't have any like booth or anything set up, but it's just still cool to walk through, man. Everybody want to take pictures and want autographs, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, man, me and the family, we planned this trip, you know, months back, even before I even got this fight. So it's something we did last year, the year before, and we're trying to do it every year.
Nice, man. Well, July 20th, man, you're back in action in Las Vegas. Thank you, Kurt, man, always for the time. And yeah, man, go get this finish, and we'll see you again later this year.
I'm on it, man. I'm on it, trying to get back on the right track, but I appreciate it.